Welcome to day 7 of Let's Get Exam Ready, and today we're finishing off the cognitive approach, looking at the last topic, emotion and cognition, which only has one subtopic, so nice and easy. The focus is all about the influence that emotion can have on a cognitive process, and the cognitive process that most of you have probably studied for this topic is memory. So stay focused on memory, and you've probably looked at the theory of flashbulb memory, which is the whole theory that our emotions do have a significant impact on our memories, and Brown and Culloch came up with this term of flashbulb memories to explain these very vivid memories that we have from very emotional and surprising events. And they propose that actually there's something kind of biological behind this, some special biological mechanism that is responsible for these flashbulb memories. So it's as though they are maybe wired differently in our brain, and that's why we're able to remember them so vividly. Perhaps something to do with the amygdala, which we know is linked to emotions. So in terms of your knowledge, make sure you know the theory itself of flashbulb memories, if that's the approach that you're going to take for this subtopic. You might have looked at other theories which have looked at the influence of emotion on a cognitive process. This is just one of the most common ones. For studies, you can look at studies that support the idea of flashbulb memories, studies that support the idea that emotion can impact memory and can cause flashbulb memories. There's research by Brown and Culloch, for example, to support their own theory, and Sharrett et al., who also have research to support the concept of flashbulb memories. But there's also research that challenges flashbulb memories, that actually emotion doesn't make our memories any more vivid than a regular memory. So you can look at the opposing arguments here, which are quite useful, because if you have an essay response question asking you to discuss the influence of emotion on a cognitive process, you can look at both sides of the argument here. Our question asking you about research methods is going to be focused on the topic of emotion and cognition. And again, you can choose to look at flashbulb memories here. You can choose to look at the research that's looked at flashbulb memory and what methods have been generally used to explore the concept of how emotion affects cognition. There may be some experiments, there may be some case studies that involve multiple methods like interviews and questionnaires. So for example, NICER did a case study that involved both interviews and surveys. Brown and Culloch gave their participants a survey to complete, while Sharrett et al. Used the experimental method, in particular quasi-experiment, using an fMRI to investigate the impact of emotion on the cognitive process of memory. When it comes to ethical considerations when we're researching the topic of emotion and cognition, the most important one is probably protection from harm, because usually we're asking participants to recall memories that may be emotionally charged for them, and maybe that could cause them stress and anxiety. So protection from harm is definitely a key ethical consideration in research into emotion and cognition. If you're asked an essay response question about ethical considerations in relation to the topic of emotion and cognition, it would be good to have other ethical considerations that are also relevant. So protection from harm, perhaps right to withdraw, to make sure the participants, if they're being asked to recall the memory, and if that is a trigger and that makes them feel anxious or stressed, then the right to withdraw is really important for them to make sure they fully understand that they can withdraw themselves and study without any consequences. Perhaps informed consent is also the other one that you might want to talk about, to make sure the participants really do have a full understanding before they agree to take part about what the study is going to be involved in. All these are really linked to protection from harm. So even though they are linked to it, you still can look at 3 different ethical considerations in your essay response. Debriefing is also important to make sure participants leave the investigation in the same emotional state that they were when they began. So if they were caused any stress or anxiety during the study, then during the debriefing process, this should be addressed. And here are some practice questions for possible short answer questions for this topic and essay response questions. As always, if you have any questions or looking for any further clarification about the cognitive approach, feel free to use the comment section here. You can email me or have a look at our website. In tomorrow's video, we're looking at 5 top tips to help you write top scoring SAQ responses in your paper 1. See you tomorrow for more expert insights.